I would like to shortly introduce our European Literary Bibliography, which is a service which we are running together with our Polish colleague from Institute of Literary Research and Polish Literary Bibliography.
Digital Humanities Center.
And Digital Humanities Center, and I don't know which other company and network in Institute of Literary Research. That means basically a Tomex group. And this is a presentation we have prepared jointly with Ondřej for some other reasons. So luckily we can use it as a substitution of the already mentioned presentation of Philip Hoffeneder. European Literary Bibliography is basically a tool or a platform which should collect and present and open to some visualization and analytical purposes the data on European literary bibliographies. The basic inspiration is the concept of bibliographical data science, and we are happy to refer to Leo and Mikko and their articles from 2019. And simultaneously, from the user perspective, it should reflect the bibliographical data landscape analysis report we have prepared within our working group in 2022. As I told, the main mission is to offer an ecosystem for harmonizing, enriching, and presenting open literary bibliographical data sets, mainly or at the moment from Europe, but with the perspective to include more or to include also the sources outside the European continent. The main web page is literarybibliography.eu. So if you would like to, you can check and you can test during my speaking how it works and what is possible to do with the data in literary bibliography. Basically, publicly available is currently the version 1.0, and we are for a long time promising to make publicly available the version 2.0, which I will be presenting partly today. And we do hope this version 2.0, which covers more tool and or more analytical modules, will be available during the spring of this year. So basically, I don't want to talk so much about the history. We have started in 2019, and maybe the most crucial incentive for the ELB was Daraya Lab project, which was led by IBL PAN in 2021 to 2023, within which basically the current state, that means ELB 1.0 was prepared. Currently, the database includes not only Czech and Polish, but also Spanish and Finnish data. And since 2023, we are in contact with the BOSLIT group, that means Bibliography of Scottish Literature and Translation, which might be included into our interface quite soon. The main challenges when we were thinking and working on ELB is, of course, the bibliographical data aggregation. That means basically to extract and to define how to extract the literary data out of bibliographical sources. The related question is also, of course, related with the licensing. And of course, we are thinking how to keep our database live or updated with the last data. So these are the questions related to bibliographical data aggregation. Of course, if I tell you that there are data in Czech, Polish, Finnish, and Spanish, you can simply perceive or think that definitely another challenge will be the multilinguality of the data. That means we have not only the data which are different from language perspective, but also there are different variants of Mark 21 standard and so on and so on. And the subject to heading ontologies use and so on. Another point which we are solving within ELB implementation is the data enrichment and modification. I will speak later on about how these data are connected to Wikidata and to the linked open data scheme, which is one of the key parameters of our ELB solution. And of course, last but not least, the important thing is how to present this data to the users and to the end community. As I already told, we have these 5 national catalogs already processed for our database. Most of the data have been available in Mark 21 format, which is basically a format on the left side. On the right side, there is a part of Spanish data which are available in some native JSON format. So the data structure behind ELB is not only Mark 21, but we are able to process also the bibliographical data in other format than the core Mark 21. These bibliographical data originally mostly in Mark 21 are during the processing enriched with some semantic content. That means that we are using related library reference ontologies. That means mostly the collections of subject headings. We are using the ID of Library of Congress as a leading institution worldwide for the world librarianship. All of the data contains the VIAF identifier. It's one of the most important identifiers for the librarians, and the data are systematically harmonized with Wikidata identifiers and the content of this knowledge graph. Here is an example of the Finnish ontology, which is truly to say one of the best we know. It is really well documented, so it simplifies the solution and the work on harmonization of the data, because we can simply consult the metadata structure and the subject coding system with the concrete and specific values which are available online. And the next slide is, as you know, always the most popular one when you are presenting some tool, because you have to prepare some really complicated schema to see how, you know, deeply and intensively you are working on your data. Basically, I do not want to describe it in more detail, but the work on ELB data can be divided into 3 steps. The first one is data pre-processing. That means that we are collecting or downloading the data from some external source, mostly National Library. Out of this data, we are trying to extract the literary relevant data. That means that we are trying to identify literary categories within this data and extract only sub-collection which is useful for or usable for literary research. After that, these data are enriched by some semantic content, especially from Wikipedia, and we assign them the specific persistent identifier, you know, to keep the structure and to enable the interoperability of the data with some other system. In the second step, we are realizing the data we harmonize and enrich the data. This was basically introduced. And the last step is the presentation. Then we are trying to assess and evaluate the quality of the data. I will show you later on how it works. And we are presenting them in the system, which is basically based on a viewfind discovery system, which is one of the open source solution for presenting bibliographical data, but it is adapted and significantly adapted for the needs of the ELB interface. The following slide can show you the internal data structure of ELB, because it is not definitely Mark 21, but it is some, let's say, enriched version of Mark 21, which is available in JSON structure. As you can see on the left side, there are some identifiers or some pieces of information which do not contain any persistent identifier. For example, it is the case of Barcelona as a city of publication. And on the right side, you can see that on our data, Barcelona is enriched with the identifier from Wikidata, and then we can work with this data on the map and can enrich the original content of the National Bibliographical Collection by some other data elements. Shortly, how it currently looks like. This is the main interface of the version 1.0. So you can search within any bibliographical records, and then you have 2 other modules for persons and modules for places. Our Finnish colleagues will be satisfied that we have chosen Mika Valtari as an example of how it looks like if you are querying our data. So there are 3 random records on and about Mika Valtari in our interface. So basically it is something like library catalog, so I do not have to introduce it in more detail, I think, at the moment. There are several advanced tools for data filtering and faceting, so you can facet or use the facet for querying the data in more detail, and then these facets can have another subfacets and so on and so on. So you can filter data basically in any manner you need and you would like to. And next to the bibliographical data presentation, then we have created an authority module. This authority module is created basically on Wikidata because we can just use for these purposes only the existing authority files of the national libraries, because sometimes they are not publicly available at all. Sometimes they are presented only in a limited way. And for the sake of interoperability and multilinguality, we reduce Wikidata. Wikidata is some platform which can unify all of the data about the authors. So this is how, for example, the entry on Mika Valtari can look like. And next to the basic information about him, where he was born, what was his profession, and so on, there are several analytical tools. This is, for example, a map visualization about any places which are related to Mika Valtari. Either there were some books of Mika Valtari published, or this was some subject places about some of his novels, or there was a place where Mika Valtari was living. You can see, I don't know if it was directly Helsinki, but maybe it was. So this is that green dot. Another tool is related to some simplified network analysis of individual authors. This is a network analysis of Milan Kundera. On the left side, you can see the authors which wrote mostly about, or which has written the most article about Milan Kundera, and on the right side you can see on vice versa the authors about which Milan Kundera has written something, and these are the most frequent ones. So this is another tool for visualizing the data we currently have in ELB. This is another geographical tool. I will maybe skip to the next one, and this is the tool. This is the picture about birthplaces of the literary active people who died in Prague, and all of these dots are the places where they was born. So I think it is not surprising that the people are coming to Prague nearly from all of the or any region of the Czech Republic. But on the other hand, we can on that simple map comment that you can see that the proportion of the people coming from the Western Bohemia and Northern Moravia, which was originally the countries which were mostly populated by the German minority, are not represented in this graph. So you can come to some let's say elementary scientific conclusion out of simple visualization of our data. It is a habit in Czech Republic to compare Prague to Brno, and you can compare Prague to Brno, and the situation is completely different. You can see in this perspective that Brno, from the perspective of our database, is much more regional town, and the people who died in Brno was born really close to Brno, and they are coming mostly from Moravia, and the people from the western part of the country are not represented as much within this group. So you can do a comparison like that within our data. And if I can get to the another slide, this is the slide with let's say simple data quality records analysis on the case of Miguel de Cervantes, and the subject headings which are present in ELB data. We can show the different variations of how the Cervantes is present in the data, and you can see that sometimes it is with the data on date of birth and death. Sometimes it contains some persistent identifier as well. But on the other hand, on the very right column, you can see how certain we are that this value is directly Miguel de Cervantes. So basically, within the interface, you can later on visualize all of the possibilities which are grouped within one entry. And our level of certainty that the connection which was based or which was made automatically is correct or not. You can see that these lines which are marked with the red line, that means that Mikhail Figura and we, I don't know what is we, are most probably not Miguel de Cervantes, which we are happy that is the true information. Problematic thing on bibliographical data is that of course, the content of the data is related to the specific document. So that means that we can think about the role of the magazines or corporates or events in some bibliographical records. But as you can see from this simple comparison, in most of the documents, these values are not present. And this is not mistake. This is basically a parameter of data, and simply it's only caused by the fact that most of the documents we have in ELB are not tackling any event at all. So if we have event only in 1% of our data, that doesn't mean, or it doesn't mean that that we are missing 99% of the events in the whole. So this is simple statistical overview. Here you can see the combination of different parameters. I do not want to introduce it in a more detail, but of course the main information out of this simple comparison is that if there is some value, it is in a bibliographical data. These are mostly the persons and magazines in a case of analytical bibliography. That means in which magazine which document has been published. This is comparison of Czech and Finnish data. Maybe I can skip it, and I will come to these issues and challenges related to processing ELB data. Of course, we are intensively discussing the limits of non-interventionist approaches. That means how much we can rely on the data we extract from the national libraries, and how much we should curate them, enrich them, or correct them, because definitely it's a question of the capacity, and also question of technical solution. So this is one big challenge and one big issue we are facing once we are processing data for ELB. Then definitely another one is technological sustainability. Hopefully we have a very skilled IT, and from the technical point of view, we are able to keep ELB in motion. Of course, you all know that currently you can identify, or you can see quite an intensive discussion about the future of Mark 21. So of course, we will be thinking about the data format and the data structure in the future. And the last point, because as I thought, we are intensively using Wikidata for data enrichment, is Wikidata corruption, because simply you know that Wikidata can be edited by basically anyone who would like to do so. So sometimes we get, let's say, peculiar results once we are using the official Wikidata version. There is one case several months ago, or maybe a year and a half. It is not so important. There was a large change provided in Wikidata, and nearly all of the places who were previously part of the Russian Empire have been renamed in Wikidata to this Russian version. So that is one of the problems, that the people are simply, changing names of the places. Another problem, I don't know how much familiar you are with the Czech history, but there was, let's say, a movement of Czech dissidents of the 70s, led by Václav Havel, and this group was called Charta 77, Chart 77. but in Sweden, there is a music group of the same name. So if we are presenting our data where most of the articles are really about Charter 77, but it is connected with the Swedish punk group, it doesn't look very well. So these are generally to the problems we are facing with Wikidata. Okay. So if I should finish and conclude with the literary bibliography 2.0, I will just shortly go through all of the, or not all of the, or most important tools we have prepared for the new version. So I will, with respect to the time, I will try to be brief. So we have developed, or we are working on the modules for corporates, magazines, and events. As you can see, all of the data should be available on the main website, including the relevant and related licensing. There will be several updates on the analytical modules. That means the same also in the module for persons and their relations. This is basically an information or how we are enriching the data, and this is current version of the data. I will simply stress out only 2 points on the left side that you can see the field with the license, and on the right side you can see the data with the variations of the same term in the different languages in the case of Warsaw and in the case of Aristotle. So that's it. And maybe the last point we have started to work really recently is the module for literary works, where we are trying to identify all of the variants of the book of the same name in the different national catalogs. It is really something we have started a week or 2 weeks ago, and this is the first variant of how can, let's say, an entry on Kafka's process look like. So if you would like to, please provide feedback to our solution. We would be more than happy to hear anything about our work, and that's everything from my side. Thank you for your attention.
Questions? We didn't see in the chase model there will be a clear distinction between the original data and the enrichment you create. So if you did not, I suggest for example, European perspective. So it is clear that what is European interest and what is the output of the enrichment process. And recently, Mark in last year created some fields for this, making the provenance of the data clear. Because maybe you do something in the literary bibliography, but later you would like to get back the data from your institution, and it will be strange for the original catalogers that I did not put this information. What is this?
Yeah, thank you. We should think about that. Definitely, there is an system ID of the original record in the original database, but as you have said, there is no distinction between original data and the enriched data within the record. We can think about that, and it would be a good point. Definitely, then there will be some tricky question because the original record might be changed later on, and it might be changed to the version we have already updated. So these are some discrepancies. But yeah, thank you. We will think about that, and we should, I think, include this into our data.
Other questions? Mika.
Thanks very much. One thing that came to my mind that what we as a community might want to do or think, like you had there the question that what is literature, primary and second? It's very important. I mean, like, because what we are doing when we are working with metadata and different perspectives, all of us are interested in literature and such things, is that we are doing canonization tools in some way. So even when we are interested about the lost literature or however, we are still dealing, I mean, the data is what we are dealing with, and the data is mainly about those that have data. So that we end up looking at people like Mika Valtari, for example. And like Mika Valtari's case now in Finland, there was some letters at the end of last year that came to the public, to his lover, that puts him in a. The jury is now out because it seems like he was a huge sadist and very looks quite bad. Put it like that. But I mean, like that. But this is not. I mean, that of course we are not dealing with any. I mean, that these are different kinds of things. But as a community, when you say that we are working with metadata in a quantitative way in any way, so then the traditional humanities perspective would be that, well, you're not just canonizing things. And which, in some way, I mean, that all I'm trying to say is that we should have like a reflected position that we could maybe think together, like write some white paper about the tools that we are doing, and then what are these processes of canonization in general when we are building a European literary bibliography, which is a great idea. And very good project that is moving forward constantly your efforts. But I mean, like that's just something to think about. Canonization and what is our view on that as a bibliodata.
Yeah, thank you for this question. I completely agree with your statement that this is basically a political decision, and we are defining what is literature and what should be canonized. But from my, once we are processing some bibliographical collection, but from my perspective, you know, the question what is literature presupposes binary decision. This is literature and this is not literature, and truth is somewhere else. Something is literature, something is not literature, but then there is some gray zone, which might be literature for someone, but might not be literature for someone else. Because of course, as you thought, some letters or some essays, is this still literature, or is it something which is already not literature? It is somehow it is you know, complicated to define. So that's basically my perspective, that you do not have to think about this definition in a binary opposition, because it is, from my perspective, this is a way to help.
But then, I mean, what does it mean in different kinds of contexts? And that's where I think that if we had a common reflective position on some of this, might be quite an interesting process to. I mean, some of these things are very obvious, of course, that there is the grace. But what does it mean? So it would be nice to.
Obviously, when we are aggregating from different, I think that we have already the data for it, because when we are aggregating data from Polish, Czech, Spanish, and Finnish sources, right? So we do it on some assumptions like universal decimal classifications we use, or we use other things. And what would be the effect of it? So we already have seen differences in ontologies or in controlled vocabularies, that different national sources also define the literature genres differently, with more or less granularity, things of that nature, right? So the data for it would be for someone knowledgeable about this, but probably you could already have some views on that. And Ondřej, you wanted to say something, and then
just actually a comment to that. Yeah, I think we are talking about two different dimensions. One is defining literature and the gray zone between the kind of scientific literature and like the letter, or what we are interested in was the literary work, and there are gray zones, of course. And then there is the process of canonization, which is slightly different, and it depends quite a lot about what kind of data and how much data we have on something, and that we are able to acknowledge that, you know, there is actually the literature that we have little data on, and by actually creating literary bibliography, we're kind of, you know, focusing mostly on the data that or authors that we have data on. And so there, I think these are two different things. And of course, you know, there are decisions all the way through, and it's very easy to say that it's binary, but it's not binary at all, because you make a binary decision that essays are literature or are not literature, and suddenly you start including things that, you know, some other people on a similar binary decision will say this is not literature at all. And at the same time, then you focus on authors that you might think are interested and important, and suddenly would include them with all their work, including typically non-literary works. So there's the gray zone, or it's so large, and you suddenly start including gray zone works just because these are canonized authors, and you think, okay, with these canonized authors, they have the privilege of being included with all the work, whereas other authors are not included with the full work because they are not as canonized or as fully kind of archived in any types of archives, bibliographies or other. So there are decisions that are going along the way, and it's extremely simple to say that it's a binary decision, but it's not at all.
And then the big question I still think is that what is our position that when we are doing this, or some other things that we're all doing, that do we take the kind of authority of making a tool that in the end is a canonization tool? Whether we answer yes or no to any of these questions, it's still the process that we are engaging, and that should be reflected, and all of these different sides to the question. And maybe that, I mean, that's why I say that maybe us as a community, if anyone, should define that, okay, I'm making a tool that I offer to someone else, that where we made informed or not informed decisions about this and that, but yet, how did I reflect on the fact that I am canonized in one way or another? Okay,
yes, we need to, sorry, but if there's a question on the Zoom, we should answer. No, there's no question. Sorry, we need to cut and get to the next. Last announcement is that we are offering fully covered 1 week fellowships to work on anything related with ELB in Horizon Project Atrium, to come to Poznań in Poland, and for a week, you just share any of your ideas that could be quite loosely connected with ELB infrastructure, and you will work basically with our data scientists, probably on developing your research ideas, an article or whatever. So we are inviting anyone interested. I think it was one in the previous presentation, but you can just write an email, and the process is quite simple. For example, but that is coming in March. You can already hear. So yes, so that is it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.